Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuning in to episode number 11. It's Rock and Roll Brunch podcast. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about Travis Barker's role in rock and roll with Gen Z. Also, the newest record from the band Free Throw, piecing it together. All that plus much more, all in today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rock and Roll Brunch podcast, issue number 11. My name is Josh Marcanti. With me, my two gracious co-hosts, one Mr. Dane Train Urbach. Dane, how are you this morning?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
I'm keeping an eye on, like we were just talking about our kids sleeping,
Right.
and I'm keeping an eye on my daughter who's 2 and in a big girl bed, and at any moment could just spring from the bed and need me to walk her back to bed. So if my eyes keep kind of like looking downward, yeah, there's a baby.
What's the deal this morning? No
That's
problem.
right. Uh-huh.
I think we have a lot of our crowd could be dad heavy, so I think you're in good company. With me also is Mr. Chris Marcanti, another dad. Chris, good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm on the other end where my daughter woke up at 1:00 in the morning, and I had to go coerce her back to sleep. So Dane's waiting. I already went through it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Josh, how are you doing this morning?
You know,
Is that natural? Did that feel natural?
it was not bad.
You?
Felt weird
bad.
for me.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah, a
I'll
little
try
bit.
better.
Nobody asked me how I'm doing. I'm just the
No,
host.
true.
You know, I thought about this morning as I was making myself coffee. I said to myself, if you had asked me 6 months ago, let's call it 7 months ago, because I think we actually started this about 6-7 months ago. Hey, do you want to wake up at a stupid early time in the morning and talk about Gen Z? I would have said no. Are you out of your mind? But here I am. It's July 2021. It's very early in the morning, and I'm going to talk about Gen Z. Let's
Some
do
of
that.
us talk about Gen Z all the time at our job.
That's
just
true.
saying.
And some of us wake up at 5:00 every day. So really, you're behind. You're lagging in almost every category.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm up before 7:30, I'm really unhappy.
I feel like most days I'll text you at like 9:00 and you'd be like, "Oh God, I
That's
missed
when
a meeting."
That's really when I'm rolling. Is 9:30,
Yeah,
10.
tenor.
Like once again, last night it's 1:00 in the morning. I'm going through my ghost videos, and I'm like, I really need to go to bed.
Going through my ghost videos.
Do you have a playlist?
Why did my favorite ghost YouTubers drop videos last night? Well, now I know what I'm doing.
Go ahead and send one or two then my way. Just saying.
I have before. Just saying.
I know. Just saying. Throw a few more my way.
I'll throw some real nail biters.
I'm just saying, don't throw those my way.
Yeah. Well, some of us fall asleep to terrifying ghost videos. I don't know. Chris, what are you drinking this morning?
For Father's Day, I got a coffee subscription, and so these are single-sourced beans from, I was trying to remember all of this stuff because I knew you'd ask me this story. I think like Papua New Guinea or something like that. But the whole point of the subscription is to go like, where do you like your beans from? So that's what I'm drinking this morning. It's pretty good.
Nice.
It's pretty good. Papua New Guinea, they got decent beans.
Cool. Great. Keep us posted, Chris, on the subscription model. Let us know where you like your beans.
Cool.
That's cool. Dane, which makes me go like, hey, you know, if that's the most exciting version of what are you drinking, maybe we shouldn't talk about it anymore.
Theoretically, I was kind of excited to talk about it because I thought, it's exciting. Cool. It's an exciting coffee.
It's exciting to get new coffees, to try new coffees.
Don't try and save this now.
All right. I was listening to there was a clip of a guy on Joe Rogan the other day, and he was talking about how he quit coffee for 3 months, cold quit it, and how like he wasn't a better person for it. Like in many ways, in some ways he was like, oh, you know, I realized my addiction, but like in other ways he was like, I had walked around in a fog for 3 months, and it was like, oh, okay, and it was really interesting. And he was talking about how like when coffee kind of came to the West, how you can trace it to like an age of like enlightenment and an age of I forget about the time frame he said, but like an age of like production and like humans getting a lot more stuff done. So kind of interesting. Dane, what are you drinking today?
Cool.
Guys,
All right.
Walmart coffee. I'm not excited to talk about this because it's just like whatever organic fair trade Walmart signature brand, same old thing.
Is there any new music you're interested in? You're excited to talk about besides what we're reviewing today?
You know what? Maybe.
Okay.
I've been listening to this. Do you guys know who L1011 is?
I've heard of them.
They're like I don't know if you want to call it post rock or you know what I mean, but they're like an instrumental band, and I listen to them a lot. I listen to a lot of instrumental music.
You know me in instrumental music.
Right.
Okay. We're here.
But I'm not sure if I would call them, they don't have like the cinematic sort of like quiet, loud kind of stuff. They're more of just sort of like getting into a groove and just sort of bouncing there.
Like rock and roll jamming.
I mean, kind of.
Hippie jam for rock and roll.
So they're like a 2-person band, and they've got this drummer who just kind of keeps like a tight beat, and then a dude who plays like a double neck guitar, bass, and guitar. And he just plays with pedals and adds. He jams a little bit and then lets the pedal repeat it and then plays another part. And it sounds kind of hokey, but the music you would never, ever be able to tell that that's how they write it and perform it. And then when you watch videos of them performing, you're like, oh, wow.
Okay.
So there's this like 3-album like
trilogy.
Of theirs called Tautology that they released last year, and I kind of missed it. And so I've been listening to that a lot, especially because I've been kind of going on a writing binge lately, and I've been writing a lot. So yeah, that's what I've been jamming. If you want some good like music to throw in the background somewhere,
Definitely.
Like L1011 is about as good as it gets for me.
L1011.
Is
Chris,
that
Chris, don't write that down.
I wrote it down.
Don't.
Okay. Scratch it out here.
Yeah, they think. Scratch it out here. Oh, all right. I'll scratch that
out there. Yeah.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
All right. Chris, you been jamming anything interesting lately?
The thing I sent you guys, the band called Light the Torch, which is Howard Jones from Killswitch Engage's new band since like 2018. If you haven't listened, did you guys at least watch the music video?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Josh
Yes.
didn't. I could see it in his face.
Sorry, I was writing down. I forgot to write down L1011.
L1011. The entire album is like that. It's just like you were strong. It is so good. It is outrageously good for like just listening to painfully loud in headphones, and that is for sure. But I started listening to that Fiddlehead album. I'm also reading that ska book, and so it keeps randomly popping up ska bands that I never listened to, like Fishbone, or what else do we got in here? Then it reminded me of other bands like Catch-22 and things like that to listen to. But yeah. What about you, Josh? What are you jamming? What's on your?
Today's review got me into what's that?
Not a math question.
Not a math question.
Wasn't division.
Today's review sent me down a hole of music that I've like. I'll talk more about this later, but it was like music that I forgot that I really like. So we'll talk more about that later. But I was like, it's hard to say, but like bands like Tiny Moving Parts, Hot Mulligan, Somos, like bands like that. Like going like, oh my god, I forgot how much I love this. So anyway, we'll talk more about that later. But well, cool. I say, speaking of getting into it, let's just get into it and talk about the story for today, which is, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to get that title right in front of me right now. And here it is in front of you. how Travis Barker became Gen Z's pop punk whisperer. I was channeling a little bit of the guy from Parks and Rec there for a sec. The anchorman.
Oh yeah.
Purd. You heard?
Purd.
You heard? You heard with
Word
Purd.
with Bird.
And the title of the story is coming to you right now.
Right now.
How Travis became pop punk's. Oh no, I just lost it in front of me. Here we go.
Gen Z's pop punk whisper.
and it went away. So yeah, today's story brought to us by the good folks at Rolling Stone. If you've been paying attention to the music scene lately, the TikTok scene, the up and comers, you'll have noticed that pop punk and rock and roll is making a bit of a comeback, and you can also notice the commonality that Travis Barker's drumming in a lot of these big tracks that are coming out. A lot of the bigger artists that are
drops.
The big drops. You'll notice that Travis Barker's appearing on a lot of them. So what's up with that? Does anybody have any? Does anybody have any problems with Travis Barker being the pop punk whisperer? I'm going to start with that. That was my first question. Do either of you have any problems with that? Because for me personally, I love everything Travis Barker. I'm one of those people that if he's on it, I'm already gonna start to be like, what is this? What are we doing here?
But why is that? That's what I don't understand. I put together the playlist of all these new Travis Barker songs, and if you I think make the mistake of listening to all of these Travis Barker featured songs in a row, what you're gonna realize is that they're the same drum parts in every single song, except
he's got that with his hi-hats. It's very he's got that same anyway, Dane knows what I'm talking about.
So this is what I don't
help me, Dane.
This is what I don't get. Except for I think I didn't realize that he had also drummed on the new Atreyu record, which is whatever. But that song is a pretty good song. It's actually the same type of song as the Light the Torch, where it's just I am a warrior. But putting the songs back to back, I don't you go Travis Barker's a good drummer. He's a great drummer. But for most of these songs that are pop songs or hip hop songs or whatever, they're the same drum parts. And so it goes why does it get you excited that what about Travis Barker gets you excited to go I'll check that. I don't listen to pop music. I don't listen to hip hop probably or whatever. I'll at least check that out because Travis Barker drummed on it. This is the thing I don't understand.
Yeah, I'll start off by answering that question because I don't think it's the same necessarily for Dane looking at his face. I'm a huge Blink-182 fan. I have a Blink-182 tattoo.
I have the same one.
That's
Move
funny.
on.
That's interesting. Now that's interesting.
Now here we go.
Now. And the tattoo in question, you will see right now. So he's in my book. He's already got a huge pass on pretty much everything. I remember being in high school and the State coming out and being oh my God, Travis is the world's best drummer. Still thinking very highly of him as a drummer. And then, looking at his projects throughout the years and the things he's been involved with, going to Boxcar Racer and
the Transplants,
stuff like that, where it's and then you look at his writing choices, even inside Blink-182, where you go oh, you can he's not just a technical drummer. He makes good choices as a drummer. He makes interesting choices as a drummer. So I think that lends to him being a producer and the choices that he makes there. So I'm in my book, he occupies this brain space of I'm interested in the choices that he makes as a musician. Therefore, it warrants me checking out why would you get involved with this? So for example, Machine Gun Kelly, and the big year that he had last year, my initial reaction is disgust. And then, but I actually listened to it and I'm there's something going on here. For me, I'm maybe he's co-opting a thing to gain popularity, or like, you know, like he said in the article, like Travis said in the article, like, oh, he wrote a style, he created a style of music. No, he didn't, but he's doing something interesting, I guess. And I happen to like Machine Gun Kelly's voice, and anyway, so the reason I asked that question, does anybody have a problem with it? Because I don't. I actually don't. So Dane, I see you kind of nodding politely.
Well, I mean, I feel like I I don't know how to start really, because I was a pretty big Blink-182 fan during like Dude Ranch and stuff when that came out, and then you know, and I was also a high school kid into punk rock and learning how to play drums when Enema of the State came out, and basically like figured out how to play almost everything on Enema of the State as a way of learning how to play drums. And then like when we had a color printer in our house, printed out pictures of Travis Barker and his like drum setup.
Oh, I'm learning things now.
Yeah, I have a Travis Barker pop vinyl. Like I would consider myself a fan of his music. Like I read article after article about him and tried to, you know, like he was like on Drumline and like doing all that kind of like marching band kind of drum and bugle corps stuff. And when you listen to his music, his drumming, you can hear all that stuff. And like, to me, you know, like my mother-in-law last weekend, I'm not sure where it came up. She had seen a video or something on Facebook, and she was like, who do you think are the best drummers of all time? And then we started talking about like John Bonham and all of these, you know, like classic rock drummers and stuff. And I was trying to talk about how Stuart Copeland was like an important drummer for me because I really liked the Police and stuff and the way he kind of changed. And I feel like Travis Barker is kind of like this generation's Stuart Copeland, where we took some like kind of music and added a totally different. He, like, to me, he was a marching snare drummer. You know what I mean? Who brought it into pop punk, and it made.
You can literally see videos of him on Instagram, like practicing his drum line constantly.
Well, and that song Warrior that he features on, like the whole bridge of it is just like a drum line, you know, and then they put in like cheering, like a crowd.
And by the way, I agree with you. Like if someone were asking me the same question, I couldn't not include Travis Barker in that conversation.
I mean, I feel like Travis Barker changed the kind of drumming that we should expect from like punk music or alternative music. You know what I mean?
That, yeah.
I feel like Trey Cool kind of was like that a little bit, but I mean, like, let's list all of the pop punk drummers that were important in the 90s, and you probably couldn't name a whole bunch of them. You know, even the bands that we could name probably had like meh drummers that just even
Trey Cool though, like he's one of those guys that like he's not the same technical,
not even close.
And he like he hits he hits hard. You know, when I sit down and I want to like dick around with drumming, like I'm drumming Trey Cool. I'm not drumming Travis Barker.
And to me, like, I feel like Travis Barker had influenced a lot of my thinking about my drumming and what I need to do as a drummer and all of that stuff. Now, all that said, to me, the question isn't like, do we want, like, is he the guy to usher like in this new era of pop punk? Fine, I don't care. Like it's cool that he's kind of lending his mind to different kinds of artists. I told my wife, I was like, oh, we're talking about Travis Barker tomorrow, and I listened to all these songs that he had kind of contributed to and stuff, and I was like, and I just sort of like ended my sentence. She's like, yeah, are they good? And I'm like, no. And she's like, hasn't he always like contributed drum tracks to like hip hop artists and stuff like that? I'm like, yeah, but I think the story now is like, because I mean, this is old news. He was like performing on all kinds of like hip hop tracks and stuff. I think the thing that I have more of a problem with is, I'm going to throw this question back at y'all. Do you think Travis Barker is becoming Generation Z pop punk whisperer, or do you think that this is just like a clickbait headline? And then let's look at the subheading, by the way, because I'm a newspaper teacher. Rock music is on its way back, says Barker. I couldn't be more proud. Do you think that this article is at all talking about pop punk music and rock music at all?
Meaning what is it talking about? If not that, what is it talking about?
Like this dude, my article keeps reloading because of the ads and stuff like that.
This happened to me. This is what happened to me before.
So you got to print it out. So you got to print
Oh
it.
boy,
Nah.
here we go again.
You got to use the news app for your Mac. That helps. Anyway.
Yeah, but I usually use that on my phone, so that's my beef right now. Anyway, who's that? The kid that they lead the article with?
Jaden Hosler.
Hosler.
Yeah. Did we listen to his music at all?
Yes.
And would you consider this artist a rock and roll artist?
No.
All right. So with this headline,
I guess he would consider himself that, but like my note for the show was my note first of the show is who is Jaden Hustler?
Right.
Why is Jaden Hustler?
He's a TikTok heartthrob.
Well, I mean, aren't we all though, right?
Did you go on his TikTok?
God,
Because
thanks.
okay, here's a 34-year-old about to shit on a 19-year-old, but like.
But hold on, let me pause you before you get there. And what I don't want our conversation to be this morning is a bunch of like 30-something gatekeepers that are like, that's not punk, right? Which it already, I know that that's where I'm headed, which I don't want to go there. But then on the other hand, I also don't want to. I feel like there's no other way to have this conversation other than like Travis Barker's doing the thing that he's always done. Right. He's always helped artists like rock artists, or I'm sorry, hip hop artists, pop artists incorporate a level of rock drumming into their music, even though he's kind of has a hip hop vibe flavor as an artist, as a drummer. He's always done this. None of this is new. It's just like a totally different group of artists than it used to be.
To actually answer your question, is he the pop punk whisperer? I mean, you can draw a line between the tracks that he's on and promoting and that are getting like I think some of them are going like having the platinum version of whatever 2021 is, but like real success based on his name. And I do think if there's a popular resurgence of pop punk, not us talking about it on Rock and Roll Brunch and the bands that we like, if that's happening, I think you can point to him and go like, there's help here for sure. Chris, you look like you have a thought there.
Yeah, because I think I would believe you to say that because you were like, I'll listen to anything that Travis Barker does. Dane, I don't know if that necessarily applies to you. Like if you saw whatever one of these, like I think this Estella song by Kenny Hoopla, terrible name, awful name. Kenny Hoopla, awful name. But I actually I like every time that song kicks in, it's a pop punk song. Like it's a literal like like it's a literal pop punk song. And I think like, oh, I get it. I understand. And he's one of the newer artists that Trevor Barker is featuring.
Isn't that one? Wait, I'm maybe mixing them up.
Did you say Trevor Barker?
Trevor Barker.
Trevor Barker.
Can we wait? Hold on. That Estella song, is that the one that's mostly acoustic?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Which, or am I thinking of that song "Pain Equals Best Friend" or whatever? There's a lot of extra punctuation marks and
there certainly is
extra capital letters and a lack of capital letters in a lot of these. That's making me feel old too. You know what? A lot of these songs. A lot of these songs, if I'm being
capital letters, that's making me feel old.
A lot of these songs, if I'm being totally honest, like if it didn't say featuring Travis Barker, like I wouldn't notice that he was playing drums on them.
That's exactly my point. That is exactly my point.
For example,
because I what I think is so funny about it is like the drum parts that are happening in, I would say 80%, maybe 90% of these songs are like hip hop drum beats, right? They're like, right? Like they're literally hip hop drum beats. And I don't know if anybody would go like, oh, without seeing the Travis Barker's one would go like, that's a Travis Barker drum
Well, like
beat.
specifically that beat, I listened to that BB Rexa song. I don't want to say anything about that. I just want to say that drumming wise, there's nothing on there that says that's Travis Barker.
So this was.
I
my
mean,
initial...
even if you watch that video, which I actually do like her voice. I think her voice is interesting. But if you watch that video, like the drumming that he's doing is not even in time with the track that's behind it. So I'm like, I don't even think he played drums on it or whatever. But
so this is exactly my point. I want to separate Travis Barker from being a drummer to Travis Barker being some sort of rock and roll icon. Because the fact that he's an icon is what makes people go listen to these songs.
Correct.
Not because he does something that's incredible as a drummer on these pop songs. Like,
and I would say that I would 100% agree with that. And I would say to your point, people like you listen for that thing, you go like, oh, it's Travis Barker, and it's like it's almost that thing like it's a placebo almost, where you're like, oh, it's good because Travis Barker's on there. It's like, hold on,
But if kids significantly younger than us are also thinking that without Blink-182's impact on the like zeitgeist, right? I think that certainly if you were in high school when 9 came out, I don't think you'd feel the same way about Blink-182 as we do about when Enema of the State came out, right? Like, is that a fair assumption to make?
Yeah.
So, like, what about Travis Barker speaks to kids? I mean, it's working. It's clearly working.
So here's the thing.
That's what I don't understand.
I don't think it speaks to kids at all. And this is why I really dislike this article. I mean, at the surface, the article itself, the article is fine.
Ugh.
No.
Ugh.
Some editor had a really shitty time coming up with a headline and decided to come up with a really shitty clickbaity one. To me, this article is nothing to do with Travis Barker being a Gen Z whisperer, ushering in a new era of pop punk. But the writer wrote a solid feature about this dude who's from an old band that's working with these new artists, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
The thing for me is that, like, the reality of this is Travis Barker is a hired gun for, like,
without a doubt.
For $10,000, he may lend his ear to your track. And let's be real. These are individual tracks that he was hired to, like, produce and stuff. Like that Willow song. I was so surprised by that Willow song when you put it on the record.
As was I.
I was like, wow, I actually really like the song. Let's go listen. Let's listen to some more songs by Willow. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
Willow is just a pop artist and apparently knows how to play guitar and has some cool guitar tone. But, like, just on that one song is a rock, has one rock song.
I've been avoiding it. I have not listened. I knew it kind of blew up a couple months ago, and I've been avoiding it this whole time. And then finally, Chris put it on this playlist, and I'm like, okay, that song's legit. That song,
and I was actually really excited about hearing the rest of the music on this playlist, and then. Machine Gun Kelly, yada yada yada. So I
like that Machine Gun Kelly record.
But to quick counter argument, I do believe for that. I was reading something on Machine Gun Kelly and specifically that Tickets to My Downfall or whatever record that was. He said that I think Travis did collaborate on the entirety of that record.
Probably
so.
Yes.
Absolutely, and
he's gotten the exception.
He's gotten a lot of credit for that for sure. Yeah. But all of these other, and I do think Machine Gun Kelly is the exception. But all of these other artists, he's like, hey, for like $10,000, I'll come in for the day or the week, and we can work through this song together. But I want credit on the track. I might offer some drumming, and I might not, or it might be a Zoom call. For all I know, because maybe he's just sitting in his home studio, like hashing out drum parts and adding it to a song that's already half built or whatever it is. But these artists know if Travis Barker's name is featured on the song title, then they might get more plays and more clicks just because of the Joshes of the world are going to be like, ooh, Travis Barker, that's awesome. But this is more of a marketing thing. Probably
without a doubt,
than it is a musical thing or even a production thing. Even if it's a production thing, it's as much about marketing the song and floating it out there. Because the other side is like, if it goes viral on TikTok, whatever, that's a thing that happens.
TikTok.
Maybe more organically than, but like Machine Gun Kelly's comeback is may have only happened because his record label was like, oh shit, well, Travis Barker's on it. Travis Barker collaborated, so like it's got that industry push behind it, because like Travis Barker adds legitimately to, frankly, unpopular opinion, a somewhat like meh, illegitimate artist, Machine Gun Kelly.
I don't think you're. I think you're exactly 100% correct, and I also don't think there's anything wrong with going like, oh, Travis Barker's featured on Jaden Hustler's track, and then going like, okay, does the rest of his music, Jaden Hustler or whatever Youngblood is supposed to be?
Hold on, can we talk for a second about Hunna?
Hold on, we'll talk about
the Hunna. Sorry,
the Hunna. I don't think there's anything wrong with then going, does any of the other music stand out on its own? Does any of the rest of Willow's tracks stand out as something to listen to? And when the answer is no, then it proves your point, Dane, that he's a hired gun, you know?
But so great, all that's fine and well. Doesn't that mean he's if artists and record labels are putting Travis Barker on a song so that more people will listen to it, doesn't that mean he's the whisperer?
No, because I feel like
I think yeah.
Obviously, the answer is yes. If more people are going to listen to things because this guy is associated with it, that's to your point. It's branding and marketing, right? Because it's you go. So moral of the story is like I will. There's a million phones out there, but I'll use the one that's got an Apple logo on it because I like Apple and I know they're going to give me a good product. And so if Travis Barker is bringing more people to a song like I Think I'm Okay or My Ex-Best Friends Whatever by Machine Gun Kelly, if Travis Barker's bringing more people to that, or by bringing more people to Kenny Hoopla, I think that means that he's like the whisperer. I think he's
you ready? You ready for me to settle your argument, Chris? It's easy.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the horse whisperer, but I know a shit ton about the dog whisperer. Okay? I know a shit ton about the dog whisperer.
I have no idea where this is going.
What was the dog whisperer's goal? To get dogs to listen. He's the dog whisperer. You get the dogs to. Travis Barker is the pop punk whisperer because it gets you to listen.
I'm worried that you thought that was going to be like a mic drop moment.
I think it is.
I think I'm with him though. No one's listening to more
What?
pop punk because no one's listening to more
much.
pop punk because of Travis Barker, but they may be listening to more hip hop music that's incorporating more rock elements.
I think everything you said is true, except for the fact that Machine Gun Kelly, Kenny Hoopla, whatever, they're all pop punk artists. I think that you just have to add that into there.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to do that. I really don't want to go down the rabbit hole of like defining what pop punk is, because there's just no. Despite my broad acceptance of what could be considered pop punk, between like, I don't know, the Riverdales and like Green Day, or like friggin', I don't know, State Champs, right? Like, I don't see a place where Machine Gun Kelly fits in there at all.
That might be the craziest thing you've said.
And I was going to say, that's very almost 40 of you, unfortunately.
Certainly.
I'm sorry. I like those tracks. Like, I listened to a few of them from that record, and I'm like, well, he's got a guitar, and he's kind of got a poppy kind of whiny voice. All right, I'm there. Oh, every pre-chorus is just like, or every second verse is just him kind of rapping. And, you know, the thing that I've always found about pop punk, too, is it kind of builds and rises to this, like, kind of... All of those songs are very static. I mean, like, there's so many things about those songs that, to me, don't feel like they fit in that pop punk designation at all. They're just hip-hop songs that are using pop punk artists or elements to it, and in an attempt to market.
It's third wave pop punk. So
there it is.
This is another conversation for another day, perhaps.
I highlighted this part in the article specifically for Dane.
Mm-mm.
He's hopeful, not for the first time in his career, that he can help serve as a bridge to a wider world of rock. Some of Jaden's fans are like, whoa, Jaden invented a genre of music. so funny, but however they're introduced it, I'm fine with it, Parker says, because I think even Blink was that. You know, a lot of kids discover Blink and then they go back and discover the Descendants or Bad Religion, the Buzzcocks. So if kids listen to Machine Gun Kelly and Jaden, whatever, then discover these other bands, I mess with that. That's cool.
And I don't disagree with that at all. You know what I mean?
But you've diluted his entire thesis of starting his own record label, promoting all of these songs by being on it, to, hey, I can make a quick 10 grand if you want me to listen to your song.
Can it be both, though?
I mean, you got 10 grand and you want to get famous on Spotify?
I feel like it can be both. Like, because I think he can run a record label and
yes,
I feel like he can like, I don't know, be an influential musician and who's actually helping shape music and stuff. Because I mean, he is, like, we can't deny that. But he also can be a hired gun that says, "You want me to feature me on your track? It'll get like 100,000 more like Instagram Reels views if it says whoa, Travis Barker emoji with it." I mean, I think it can be both.
I think.
One last point, and I do want to move on, but there was one comment at the bottom of the article that I thought had a lot of. I know, right? Chris, I read comments.
I do enjoy reading comments.
I'm the host of a very extremely small podcast. I have to read the comments. Where somebody said effectively, you know, I think Christy might have even hit on this, where what's most interesting is that, like, Travis Barker is a guy who doesn't want to be put into a box. He, like, a pop punk drummer, helps. He has a TV show. We didn't mention the Aquabats yet. The Aquabats. He plays on hip hop records. He doesn't want to be put into a box, and yet now he's taking all these Gen Z artists and effectively putting them in a box of like a lot of these songs do sound samey. And then when you put Travis Barker in there doing the same kind of drum thing, it's like, Chris, you can make a playlist where, like, they all kind of go together. So it's interesting to go, like, here's a guy who doesn't want to be put in a box, but then ipso facto puts a lot of artists into a box.
That sounded smart.
Ipso facto?
There you go.
Chris commented me on my colloquialisms the other day.
Yes, I did.
And I've been working on that.
I'm willing to stop this conversation, but I have so much more to say.
Closing arguments?
My closing argument is, thank you. My closing argument is this. I think, Dane, we are a couple of songs away from you changing your mind. And what I mean by that is, like, I don't know them. I'm just saying, like, I think if there's a couple more TikTok artists that really do, like, a unique, maybe even more, like, crunchy pop punk thing, I think that would win you over in this argument.
Mm-hmm. Like a pure pop.
Yes. I honestly don't disagree with you.
Yes, I know. And so, but the point is to say this: like, if this is a cusp moment where Machine Gun Kelly's pseudo pop punk record transitions Travis Barker to working with all these other bands, and then we get, like, an open end of the funnel where now a bunch of kids go, like, that's not bad, but I could write some cool rock and roll shit that sounds like that, and it's cyclical, right? Mm-hmm. It goes back to, like, you know, a 90s Foo Fighters album. I think that's genuinely a good thing, and you could potentially say that Travis Barker was the one that did it.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Agreed.
My only quick counter would be
see you guys in 10 minutes.
No, I wonder if Machine Gun Kelly's next album is going to be anything like this last one that he did. And
I have the same question.
Yeah,
actually.
I think you're definitely right, but I don't know if it matters.
Maybe not, but it might also matter in that if this is the tastemaker, then if he goes a different route that's not rock anymore, then it seems like we're playing on a trend, and we had a hired gun to kind of boost our album sales. So
totally agree.
Fair enough.
Well, let's move on and away from Travis Barker onto some real pop punk. I'm just kidding. Today's record review is the latest from the band Free Throw, Nashville natives. It is called Piecing It Together. Chris Marcanti,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
Oh no, I minimized everything. Here we go.
Get that pen out of your mouth. We're doing a podcast right now. We can't listen to you
true.
talking.
Look at him. He's gonna put it in his mouth. Watch him.
I didn't. I'm done.
No, I'm referencing It's Always Sunny because they reference It's Always Sunny in their track Ocular Pat Down. Do you see how I did that? Now, Chris Marcanti.
Wow.
I know. Chris Marcanti, you
Mhm.
recommended, I believe, Free Throw for
Can I be
review
honest?
today. Yeah.
I didn't recommend it. Jim Hankey from Vinyl Emergency recommended it.
That's right.
And I started listening to it and went, we have to review this record.
For
So
what
this
it's worth,
actually-
I was listening to this the day it came out too, and I was like, this one would be pretty good. And then Jim Hankey sent that text before I got a chance to say anything about it too.
And if he recommends something that it's usually going to be trash, but sometimes it's going to be really good.
No, not good. Not good.
Terrible. Don't push away our own listeners.
And also, Jim is never mind. I feel like Jim passed me into a lot of artists that have kind of shaped
I'm
the
obviously
trajectory of my
kidding.
music.
He's amazing.
It's not a funny joke.
I'm so
It's
sorry
not.
now.
Wow.
Now
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Chris,
Mm.
let's say you're the guy who pushed it, agreed with Jim and pushed it.
Yes. Yeah. That's a fair
Talk
assertion.
about your thoughts on piecing it together.
This might be the
Piece your thoughts together.
I'm piecing my thoughts together. This might be the best album I discovered or band, because I didn't know about Free Throw prior, really. I've heard of them. I know they were on tours with other bands that I liked, but I never went out of my way to listen. This might be the best new record I've been handed or discovered. It is so good. What's astounding to me about it, aside, is the fact, first of all, they have 3 guitar players, which is none of it's too messy. None of it sounds like it's overlapping one another or too loud or too whatever. I have this really genuine love for instrumental guitars that people are able to sing over, that everything's so layered and so good. These guys legitimately make me jealous that they know how to write a song. The guitar parts are unique, the drum parts are unique and awesome. The drums sound really good, the snare is good, the kick is good, everything about it. The guitar tones are amazing. I watched a live stream of them and they use kind of, I don't want to say basic, but they go most people are going I want a big Marshall stack or I want an orange. They're literally rocking a Vox, a Fender DeVille. They're rocking a Stratocaster, a Jazz Master, nothing that's overly exciting in the amp or instrument world or anything like that. The fact that it was produced by Will Yip, at that point, just knowing that, I should have listened to it by itself. I think my favorite song on it is Down and Out, without a doubt. I think that it grabs me every single time I hear it. I'm like, oh, that song, that's a really good song. Moral of the story is I'm constantly listening to this album. I'm listening to it over and over again. In terms of bands, it reminds me of Transit a little bit. The way the guitar parts are written and things like that, but the vocals stand out, and I don't know. It's just a overall really, really good record. I went and listened to their last record, which is basically this is a sharper version of their last record, meaning there was no big sweeping changes as a band. They just got better at what they do, which is writing catchy songs. I have a tough time connecting to them because it seems like they're all about being stressed out and not getting out of bed and stuff like that, which they're good material. But I will tell you what, I'm almost excited for this band's album in 10 years when they're writing about the life of being a dad and all of the if that was the lyrical content, it might be my favorite album ever written. But if these guys keep writing albums, I'm gonna listen to it every single time. I absolutely loved everything about this record.
Yep. I mean, yeah. I'm gonna. Yeah. Dane, you're up.
He's speechless.
I've known this band for a long time, since their first EP, actually.
Oh, good for you.
Here we go. Dane's
Good
coming
for
in.
you.
Wow.
Look at him squinting. He knew it was coming.
The only reason I say that is because, like, I think their first EP was something that was, like, in front of me, and I was like, man, this band would be so cool to pursue and sign. And then they signed with Count Your Lucky Stars, which makes perfect sense, and released their first record. And they were just so noodly, emo, revival-y at the time that I was like, yeah, this is good. And I kind of just lost touch with them. Like, I just didn't follow up with any of their records. I think I meant to and just never did. And so this was kind of like a reminder. This kind of brought this band back to the forefront for me, and they're not what I remembered them at all. So I'm using that as a preface to say that I think this album, it feels like I keep wanting it to be something a little different than it is. And what I mean by that is, that first song, like Cloud Sick, like that song is killer. And I just loved the noodly guitars. I loved the really aggressive vocals. And I loved those aspects. I loved the energy behind the songs. I love those aspects of every single one of these songs. But there are aspects of in almost every other song that feels like it gets too pop punky for me, for lack of a better term. I don't mean that in a negative way. It means, like, though, that all these things that I loved about these songs, I kind of wanted more of them. And it sometimes just sort of got into a starting line-ish, or you said transit, kind of like groove, that it got a little slower, it got a little whinier, it was going too hard for the hook. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is good. But it's not like, but then I'd go back, the song would cycle back through and start up again with that song Cloud Sick, and be like, fuck yeah. And I'd just, like, be into it.
Oh, fuck.
I feel like every song kind of has, like, this more aggressive, energetic, screamier, not screamy, but kind of like harder vocals, like acrobatic guitars, and just like all that stuff you were saying. And I dig it. And when it gets back into, like, the slower, kind of poppier, bouncier, like chorus or like bridge or something like that, I'll be like, oh, you still got me, bud. And so to me, I kept wanting to apply this part of the album that I liked to the other parts, and when the other parts weren't that, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's good. So, like, to be honest, I also really liked this record. I will be playing it a lot more, but I feel like I kept wanting it to feel more like an emo-y, kind of like noodly, more complex, angular album, and less of a pop punk, sort of like soaring anthemic kind of album. And because if anything, this record does a better than average job at spanning that gap, at finding the place in the middle where like, I've always thought, like, Transit never comes across like an emo band. I hate when people call Transit or State Champs or Knuckle Puck an emo band,
Knuckle Puck is not an emo band.
Right, but you do hear people say stuff like that, you know what I mean? And then this album, to me, can bridge that gap. This is the missing link between, I think, these kind of modern versions of these genres. And for that, I think it's pretty awesome. So that's kind of my 2 cents. I don't know if I articulated it well, but I think that's, yeah.
It's weird. It seems like for you, the thing that you didn't like, which is that it's kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, but what my takeaway from your review is that the thing that you didn't like is how much of a bridge it was between the two genres. Like how you wanted more things from certain aspects. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I loved about it. Mm-hmm. For me, it was like when in the beginning of the show I was talking about, like, bands I've been listening to. This band reminded me how much I love emo music, and how much of that's like something I identify with. Not like the lyrics behind it, but just the style of music necessarily. Because, like Chris said, like, I'm in a wonderful place in my life, so I have no emo at all. but I can identify with being younger and struggling and da da da. But for my money, the thing that you didn't like so much, Dane, is the thing that I was just like all in on. I texted Chris in the middle of the week. I'm like, this fucking free throw record. For me, what was funny is I actually did grab their previous record. There's 2 previous record, Bear Your Mind. I grabbed that off of a playlist that I listened to. I was like, one of their songs came up. I was like, oh, I like threw it in my back catalog. Like one day when I'm looking for something new, I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to listen to Free Throw. And I just hadn't gotten to it yet. And then our conversation caught up with that. And I was like, oh my God, I've literally had that record in my back catalog for a little bit. To Chris's point, I'm so thankful that we have this show. I am thankful that new bands like this can come across my hashtag blessed. Thank you, Jesus. Palms of God. That bands like this can come across my desk. We've reviewed some amazing records so far. For me, this is tied with my favorite one which is the Dirty Nil. But this is up there for oh my God. I truly love this record. And like when I first started listening to it, my first playthrough, I was like, oh, what are we doing here? I was like, is this samey? Is this, why are we really giving this attention? Then as that record was halfway through, as we got to tracks like, The Grass Isn't Always Greener, Down and Out, as we got to those kind of tracks, I was like, no. This is pure. This couldn't be more in my alley. The fact that it was mellower in some spots and then gave me a little juice in some spots, and there's also this I think there's more of a correct me if I'm wrong, the fact that they are some of that Nashville kind of bleeds in there, where it's I
was thinking the same thing.
It's got that chill vibe, that hey, we're pop punk, but we're gonna chill about this, we're gonna be cool. I watched one of their music videos, and they were doing spots all around Nashville, and I recognized some of those spots, and I was like, ooh, even the walking bridge that they had a part on that walking bridge. I leaned over to Allie and I was like, go check it out. That there's a vibe there, and these guys are capturing it. I truly couldn't love this record more. Really, really enjoyed it. And so Dane, you're wrong. And
outvoted.
Chris, where's this one gonna sit for you for the year, for 2021?
It's gonna sit high up.
Yeah.
That is for sure. It's gonna sit high up. I feel like I keep finding myself in this problem of there's too much good shit, and then I forget about it. I completely forget.
I hear you.
It's a modern problem. It's a
problem
of new music.
Legit. We've reviewed we've reviewed amazing records that I have to move on from. I have to keep going because there's too much out there. But there's stuff I just this record I want to absorb and put inside of me and identify with, and I can't give it that much time, but I'm going to. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No. I think that's just it. I think it's gonna sit high up. My hope is that my weird ADD brain, next year I won't forget about it, right? And then maybe then it'll be a rediscovery. But there's so much good stuff. But this album is top notch for me.
And Dane, you hated it?
Oh my gosh. No, I didn't hate this one at all. I really liked this one.
I'm kidding.
I mean,
when they watch this, guys, you're watching. Free throw. You're watching. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that Dane did not like this record.
It's not even your fault. It's not even your fault.
Please do not let the words and actions of Dane Urbach represent those of the Rock and Roll Brunch podcast.
No, for real. This.
Go ahead. Sorry, your review.
This one may be up there on in somewhere in my top 10 at the end of the summer, or at the end of the summer, at the end of the year. But I do, despite the things that I wish that it was more of, I think that it does too good of a job of bridging this gap between two genres that I like. Just because I wanted it to be more like one thing doesn't make it any less of an awesome record.
Yeah. No, for me, it's obviously top 10 of the year, top 5 of the year for me, maybe so far. And being too good, like Dane said, is not a bad thing.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
I forgot to one little thing. Dane, I think it was the grass is always greener. I'd be so curious. There was that like little guitar part where it was like da 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 da, and it kept kind of going back to this little guitar part, and I was like, that is an exact guitar part off of Pinkerton. I don't know if you heard that. And I was like, I thought that would hit on you. They might not have ripped it. I don't think that they did, but maybe there was some influence there or something. But it was like this way that the note bent and came back. I was
Let
like,
me go back to it and listen.
Easier.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I'll point it out to you more later. I forgot to mention that in my review. But anyway, yes, top 10 for me for the year, top 5. With that, that's going to go ahead and close out the show for us today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. Chris.
Yeah.
Where can people find what you're up to on the internet?
throwbackchicago.com. We got shows on shows. We have 5 shows this month and next month in September. So
if you're running a marathon in the Hoffman Estates area and you're awake at 6:30 in the morning, come watch us.
We'll see you at the 24th.
There you go. Cool. Dane, what's up with you? What's going on in your world? Where can people find what you're up to?
Just jetsam-flotsam at .bandcamp.com is a good place to start to check out my label, and otherwise you can start there and you can figure out the rest. Yeah.
Wow. Really selling it.
Wow. Sounds like you're closing up shop.
You kids are the worst, man.
Check it out or don't. Who gives a shit? For me, it's all Rock and Roll Brunch. You can find out more about what we're doing on our Instagram, Rock and Roll Brunch. We are there. We are also on YouTube. Currently got 2 subscribers, me and Chris. So go there, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Our numbers are growing on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so thank you very much for that. If you like what you heard today, feel free to share what we got going on, because I do think we have a little bit of a unique voice going there in our little corner of the internet. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, check please.